I'm going to kind of now amplify the story somewhat. I'm going to double click because without understanding what's going on, you can't really have a conversation about this. There were really two people who were major actors, directly or indirectly, in catalyzing or supporting the false complaints, besides the two complainants. One of them, right, is a guy named David Inbar, and the second is a woman named Chaya Lester. One is a former student, who's the only student I've ever broken with and asked to leave my circle. The other's my former wife. So there's a former student and a former wife. Those two people are the prime actors, except for one person that Barbara will talk about, but those two people are the prime actors in the current smear campaign. Now that's actually missed by the public. People don't quite get it. But here's the actual story, right? David's closest friend, Mia Cohen, was the major false complainant, right? David and Mia obviously had conversations, right? We had a fantastic relationship, Mia and I, right? And very, very soon afterwards, right, Mia was the person who instigated the process of false complaints. Mia was very close with David Inbar. David is a student, right, who I met, right, came to a weekend that I taught, some 12 years ago, right? He said to me, this is like the most delightful weekend of my life. It's changed my life. We had a kind of very powerful connection. And then right after the weekend, right before we had all gone home after closing circle, David spent about an hour kind of raging at me about his father, right? I should have kind of seen it coming. I was surprised by the virulence of the rage. But, my kind of position in life was, I'll just love people and it'll be okay, and we'll transform it. So David became close to me, right? He was a good reader of texts. I thought that, we could actually work together in some real way. And at some point, I ordained David, right? And it was a pivotal moment in his life. He was going through a very difficult time. He had left his seminary, and I ordained him as a rabbi. Again, all of this is unknown in the public space now. Right? It looks like it's just this kind of, people campaigning for the good. And I ordained David, and after I ordained David, something changed. The original virulence of the first meeting where he yelled at me about his father kind of came back online in an obvious way. And in the year 2005, David got worse and worse and worse. And there was a very powerful kind of virulent anger that I didn't quite understand at play. And it built up to a series of ethical violations in which in May 2005, I said to David, we just got a break. I've ordained you, go on your way, but I can't be in contact. I can't work with you. Right? It's just out of integrity in too fundamental a way. This is May 2005. Now again, I'm doing details because without details, it just doesn't make sense. Right? Between May 2005 and May 2006, David acted against me in, lots of ways. And it would come back, he would speak to students of mine, speak to colleagues of mine, spoke to mutual older colleagues, and he was always there in some way behind the scenes, creating, kind of a sense of malice, right? And a sense of kind of rage. I tried to talk to him 2-3 times, and honestly, I couldn't get through. There was this kind of projection on me that was so intense and powerful that seemed to be mixed up with his father that I couldn't find my way through it. And it turned out that David was a prime actor, directly or indirectly, not a big surprise, right? In the false complaints. The other prime actor was my former wife, Chaya. I've never talked about my former wife, Chaya, in public, right, until this moment. Chaya has, unfortunately, not followed that particular, right, path, right? She's written, any number of public posts, right, against me, right? I've kind of held my silence. My kind of sense was, you don't work out your marriage in public. And my kind of position was the dignity of silence. Say what you will. We loved each other once. Have a nice life. And so I didn't respond to, 2 major letters she wrote against me. One was circulated in secret. And I would say the basic point of that letter was Gafni's evil. And the first one was another version of Gafni's evil, right? They were virulent letters of a very, very angry ex-wife. I left Chaya for another woman, right, who I was in love with. That didn't help, right? Number one. Number two, Chaya had asked to remarry me, right? 3-4 months before the false complaints, saying I kind of loomed too large in her life. She was going out with a man named Hillel. and couldn't quite bring it together with him. When I returned to Orthodoxy and remarry her, I declined, for lots of deep and profound reasons, right? She wasn't happy, right? And she was drawn into, and by her own admission, right, in a conversation with a person she didn't realize I was close to, and it's been written up as an affidavit, she proudly acknowledged that she was a prime organizer of the false complaints. And she kind of painted herself as a victim. And she kind of adopted a victim narrative in a very intense way. Chai and I had done a wonderful process of counseling, in getting divorced, right? Which was actually very beautiful. It was probably our most beautiful time together, where we cried together, we apologized to each other for whatever mistakes we made. That got lost. Now, you got to get this for a second, because it's critical, which is, imagine that you went to murder someone. You go to murder someone. You thought you succeeded. 2006. 2 years later, 2008, after my computer was recovered, I reappeared and began teaching again. The person you thought you murdered is alive. They're the only person that knows that you're a murderer. What do you do? When I'm talking about murder, I'm talking about social murder, obviously. What do? Well, either you apologize, possibility one, but if you're a social murderer, then you might not be moving quickly to apologize, or you go to complete the murder. That's what you do. And so what David and Chaya did is they went to complete the murder, meaning they began an intense process of demonization, which began in 2008 in kind of deep intensity, and it's gone basically till today. It's been a kind of 8-year process of attack after attack.